Alright guys, so here's the review of the Phoibos Eagle Ray GMT. So this is actually the Quartz version. I haven't checked out the automatic, but I have checked out a previous version that was the non-GMT one, which we'll briefly talk about in this video. So this is currently on sale, so if you pick it up before the 10th of October, you can actually get 20% off using the code EB20. And I'll leave a link down in the description if you do want to pick one of these up. So we'll quickly get the watch out of the way, briefly show you the packaging, and then we'll get right down into it. So it's the usual Phoibos packaging, nothing too fancy, but does the job. Show you what it's like inside, but we're not going to go into detail again. So you've got all the paperwork, warranty card, and all that kind of stuff in there. But we'll get this out of the way, get right down to the watch. And here it is. So I've got the black and gold version, but if you're not keen on this, they do plenty of other versions as well. They also do it with a bracelet if you want it on that instead of this tropic strap. So just check out the link in the description so you can see all the different ones, because I'm not going to go through them all, there's far too many. And obviously if you're not keen on Quartz, they do an automatic version as well. Not entirely sure if it's the same colours, they might do different ones, but again, check out the link in the description. But let's get on to the dimensions now. So we've got a diameter of 41mm, thickness of 12, lug width of 20, and the all-important lug to lug is coming in at 47. When it comes to the weight, that's coming in at 84 grams on this Supply Tropic strap. Obviously the bracelet one will be heavier. But it is quite a nice Tropic strap as well. So I'll quickly show you what it's like. And we've got the bead blasted buckle on there, matching the case. We've got the Phoibos branding too. It's always nice to have matching hardware, same as the case. When it comes to the rest of the strap, you can see we've got a quick release there as well, which again is always nice. Then we've got this case back with all the different time zones, which is handy for the GMT function if you want to use that. And it is a screw down case back too. Taking a look at the side of the case, as I said, it is bead blasted, matching that buckle. And it is nicely finished. You can see we've got those signed crowns there as well, both of them are signed. So we'll get a quick zoom in and show you them. So we've got that Phoibos logo on there. I do like that, I know some people aren't keen on it, but I personally quite like it. And we've got some nice grip on there as well. So functionally they should work really nicely. Got some nice detailing on that bezel there as well. Again, nice little high polish sections. And you can also see we've got double dome crystal on this. We'll be checking in a bit if it is sapphire. But getting onto the dial. So we've got applied indices here, and they are nicely done, in this gold colour on this one. So they've got the gold centre and the gold surround, so we've got that kind of faux-tina kind of look. So obviously that will affect the lume slightly, but we'll check that out in a bit. Obviously if you go for different versions, that will be different, but again, we will talk about that in a bit. So we've got the printed Phoibos logo at the top, the only other text on the dial is GMT, and 300 metres. And the GMT is printed in red, matching the head of that GMT hand. And obviously that triangle up at the top on the inner rotating bezel as well. Just little splashes of colour, just to break it up a bit. And then we've got that date window at the 3 o'clock with the gold frame as well. When it comes to the second hand, you can see it is actually hitting all the markers, which isn't always the case with cheaper watches that are Quartz ones, so that is good to see. So we'll get a zoom out, and we'll actually talk about this movement in a bit more detail now. So the movement in this is actually a Ronda 51524H. So that's a GMT movement, obviously. So we've got screw down crown at the bottom, unscrew that, pop it out to the first position, you can change the date, turn it the other way, you can change the GMT, then pop it out again, second hand stops, so we go hacking, then we can just change the time, and obviously that GMT hand will move with it as well. Pop it back in, second hand re-engages, and then obviously just screw it back down. So now I'll show you that inner rotating bezel. That's also got a screw down crown, which is nice to see, not always the case. And that works really nicely as well. Nice smooth action on it. And then when you put it back, if you push it in, once you've lined it up, it will actually lock so it won't start moving when you're trying to screw it back down as well, which is a nice little thing to have. Not always the case with some of these. I've had some others where they will start moving about and it's a bit awkward to try and do, but that's not an issue with this one. So now, let's check out if that double domed crystal is actually sapphire or not. Using the trusty diamond selector tool. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal, so that's good to see. So now you're probably wondering, what's the lume going to be like on this? With it being that faux-tina, is it going to be any good or is it going to be a bit rubbish? Obviously, if you go for the other versions, it's going to be slightly different, so I'm going to talk about that briefly when we get onto this. So the one on the left is the new Quartz GMT, whereas the one on the right is the non-GMT standard Eagle Ray version, automatic though, that I've previously reviewed, just so you can get a kind of idea of what the no-fauxtina Lume will be like. So initially, as you can see, that old radium style green Lume on the left on the GMT is looking pretty good, especially when you compare it to the BGW9 of the standard Eagle Ray. Not a great deal of difference in terms of brightness, at least initially. So pretty good so far, and I was actually quite surprised at how good this was. I was expecting it to be a little bit weak. So it says on the listing they've got 12 layers of Lume on there, and I believe them, because it definitely looks a lot better than a lot of old radium style Lumes I've checked out previously. No patchiness at all, consistent across the hands and the indices, looking good. In terms of longevity, it will fade a little bit in comparison to the BGW9, but it'll still be legible, just not as bright. Eventually it will fade out just before the BGW9, but it will last a good amount of time, a lot better than you'd expect. And as I've said, the BGW9 on the right on the standard Eagle Ray, I imagine will be basically the same as what you're going to get for the non-fauxtina old radium style ones, which will have BGW9. So you can see, you're going to get pretty good either way. So here's the watches side by side. This is the non-GMT that I've previously reviewed. If you want to see that, just click in the top here, check it out. But getting back to this one, all that's left to do now is show you what it's like on wrist. Then we'll go over the pros and cons, and you can decide whether you want to pick one of these up or not. And here it is on my 7-inch wrist. So I think it is a good looking piece, and it is nice and comfortable on this Tropic strap. And I do like they've got the bead-blasted hardware there matching the case, which ties it all together nicely. It just wears really well, conforms to your wrist. That nice curvature to the lugs, fairly short, compact lug to lug as well. Really like these polished little details around the edge of the bezel, just catching the light. Same with those fauxtina indices in the hands, just catch the light nicely. But again, if you're not keen on that, you can go for the more standard versions that don't have it. But either way, I think it is a really nice watch. It's not perfect, there's a couple of little things that I would like changed. The main one being, as you've probably figured out, a little bit more AR. It's not quite got enough there. And we have got that ever so slight blue tint to it, so some clear AR and a bit more would be good. Other than that, there's not really a great deal I would change. Personally, I would have preferred the date down at the 6, but that's just personal preference. I just prefer them there for the symmetry. But again, it's not really that big a thing. I can deal with it at the 3. So, question is, are you still interested in these watches? If you are, don't forget to use that discount code and buy it before the 10th of October to get it at the best possible price. And as I say, if you're not keen on Quartz, they do automatic versions as well. So I'll leave a link to the non-GMT version so you can get a rough idea of what that'll be like, because I think it is going to be fairly similar in terms of the bracelet and stuff. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.